Welcome to People Love Process. In this movie, I'm going to show you how I go about setting up a vector-based design in order to get it screen printed with physical inks, and also I want to show you how I set up a file and upload it for digitally printed garments as well. So let's dive right into it. Now, this first design isn't a design that I created myself. My daughter works with me and she wanted to do a t-shirt, so I just want to quickly walk through how she went about creating that artwork. She's into the whole manga Japanese artwork. That's how she actually started drawing digitally, is she got Manga Studio years ago, had it on her iPad, and she loves it, and that's what she uses still. Although it's changed names, it's called Clip Studio Pro now, but she also collects dolls. And so this was her reference she took of one of her dolls, and she likes to put them all together herself. She collects doll parts and kind of customizes them. So this was the reference she took. And of course, she used this to base her drawing on. So this is some of her initial sketches. Yes, she does sketch in analog every now and then. This is one of those cases where she didn't do it on her iPad. And this just shows her initial sketches, and she makes notes as she goes. She needs to adjust some of the detailing in the top here, and then the refined drawing where she's working out other elements, and she's drawn on vellum. This is actually the process I do all the time. I prefer it over digital. Not that there's anything wrong with digital, there isn't. They both benefit the creative process when you draw like this. But ultimately, when it's all said and done, she has a refined sketch like this, and she places this into Illustrator, and then she'll just go ahead and knock it back to about 15%, lock the layer, and then on a layer on top, she starts building all of her shapes. Now, she obviously read my book on vector building, but she handles some things a little differently than I would, meaning I like to break up my artwork into more manageable pieces. And she's done that a little bit with the eyes here. You know, these are just separate pieces sitting on top, so that makes sense. But she'll actually build the whole perimeter shape on some of this artwork. So if I select this one, you can see all around the head, the back part of her shoulders and her arms. She creates that, and I would have probably broken that up into different pieces myself, but it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer, as long as you have a nice drawing that's you're already thinking in shapes, already thinking how you're going to build this, and you have this roadmap, then it makes vector building like this a lot easier. Once she gets all the base shapes figured out, then she goes ahead and starts working out all the color. So if I turn on this layer here, these are the three primary colors she's using in this design. You have a magenta and this light pink and this kind of soft yellow that represents the flesh tone of this character. And since this is Japanese inspired, she has some kanji up here in Japanese that says strawberry. And so this was her design. It's not really in my wheelhouse in terms of a shirt I'd want to wear, but she loves it, and that's all that counts, and she wants to create a t-shirt. Now, when she showed me this, I'm always giving her feedback if I think there's something that she might want to consider doing. And on this design, I said, this looks fine. I like it, but maybe we can make it look a little more interesting in her dress. You know, what if we created a polka dot pattern, we put that in her dress? So that's what I suggested. So I'm going to turn on this layer because this is about the easiest pattern you can possibly make. So we have 4 elliptical circular shapes here, and the center of each, you can see right here, aligns with the corner on this square. And this is the easiest way to think about a pattern. In reality, all you need is these 2 elements like this. So with these 2 selected, I'm just going to drag and drop it into the swatches palette, deselect, click into the pattern tile mode, and we're going to click on the pattern tile tool here. And then we're just going to pull these out. It likes to snap to shapes, but sometimes it's not always accurate. So I just pull them out. And then in this case, I'm going to pull it in until it snaps right to the edge. And then I'm going to pull this down until it snaps to the edge. We'll do the same thing on the right. Snaps to the edge and on the bottom. So all we have is now the other corners are coming in, because wherever this shape goes off on the left, on the right that is, comes in on the left. Where it goes off on the bottom comes in on the top. And so it creates all the other elements needed. We can select this square. We just use this to register it, if you want to think about it that way, and just delete it. So now we have our pattern. And you can adjust the dim and everything. Watch my pattern movies on my YouTube channel, and it'll explain all the settings and all the different tile types, etc. This is just a basic one. We'll go ahead and name this. We're going to call it Polka Dots Pattern, like that. And then hit the escape key to get back to the artboard. Let's zoom out. So we're done with that pattern now. All we need to do now is apply it. So right now I have this shape just sitting on top of the back. So what I'm going to do is select the two shoulder shapes, and I'm going to clone it. Command C, Command F. I have a F3 key set up to clone, so it does that automatically. I don't have to go up and pull down for two commands. We're going to go ahead and fill both of these with this pattern like that. And you can see one thing I forgot to do now that, one thing when I work, I'm not talking to myself when I work. So I kind of distract myself. First, because we have the base, this light pink, which we want to keep, but we want to turn into a polka dot pattern, I first have to select these two shapes and fill it with white. Otherwise, we're not going to see the pattern as you just saw. Now that I've done that, now I'll clone it. Just hit the F3 key to clone. Command C, Command F is what that keyboard shortcut does. We can fill it with our pattern now, like that. And then we're just going to cut this to the clipboard, because I have this highlight that I want it to still fall behind. I'm going to Command B, paste behind, just so where it gets to those areas, you still see that highlight. And this is a pretty big kind of pattern. I want to kind of minimize that a little bit. So I'm going to go to the scale, double click on it, turn off transform object. I don't want the object to change. And I think that looks about good, 40%. I think it looks better smaller. So we'll click OK. Then I'm going to go to my graphic styles. And this is where I'll just drag this in so it creates a graphic style. Then I can select this and just apply it to that one as well. And I think that just looks a lot more interesting, having that little bit of pattern in this. There's a lot of flat areas, which is fine. This style goes good with that. But this is how I would set up the art. But this isn't ready for screen printing because, one, it's CMYK. It's a CMYK file. And so this would separate out as CMYK. Let's go to Window. We'll go down to Separation Preview, and we'll open up this palette. So if I expand this a little bit, you can see it has CMYK. And if I turn that off, well, if I go in here and turn off any of these, whether it's cyan, magenta, yellow, or black, if I turn off black, you're not going to see much difference because these colors don't have any black in them, and these are the only colors we're using. But if I turn off magenta, well, you're going to see quite a bit of difference because all that it's showing now is what's cyan and what's yellow. If I turn off the cyan, it'll be just a slightly bit brighter magenta color because there's no cyan in it. Or if I turn off yellow, now you won't see your skin. So this is how this works in terms of viewing if you're putting together offset printed piece in CMYK. But we want this to work in spot colors. So that's what we want to do now. And because I set this file up just to kind of show you a little bit about creating it, I have a different file that we're going to do the spot colors in. It's exactly the same artwork as you can see here, and it's still in CMYK mode, but I want to go ahead and spec specifically spot colors. So this involves using like a Pantone book, because if you select spot colors from a Pantone book and you give your file to a screen printer, there's inks that are geared for screen printing that they can match off those colors. That's why it's a color matching system. So we're going to go to swatches. We'll click on the option menu, and we're going to go open swatch library. We're going to go to color books, and the one we're specifically going to go to is solid coated. Solid is just our name for spot. We're going to click on that. It'll open it up here. And I've already predetermined what would be good spot colors, mainly by looking on screen at the raw colors that I have that we created the design in, and then picking a spot color equivalent that I think matches it good. And I think what matches good with the cyan is 2395, like this. And by the way, when you look at the book and you're matching by looking at the screen and holding the book in your hand, it's going to be a visual thing. I never trust the screen. Once I trust what the book shows me, and if the book looks the way I want it to as I see it on my screen, then that's what I go with. What it looks like on screen might look completely different. So you have to trust the book in this case. So in this case, we're going to use this. I'm going to click it. It'll add it over here to our swatches. That's fine. We're going to pick one for the light pink. We're going to go 237. And I believe that's this one right here. That's fine. And we're going to pick one for the yellow. And on the yellow, this is 7506 is the color we're going to pick for the yellow. I'm going to click that. Now, we can go ahead and close this now that we have these in the file. So to change the colors, just select anything that is the color you need to change. In this case, I want to change all the magenta, so it's that new Pantone color I brought into the file. So you can do that by selecting one of those elements or objects on your artboard that is that color. And then if you go up to select and you pull down to same and you go fill color, you can select everything that's the fill color. Notice I have option F1. That's because I have a keyboard shortcut set up. This is how you do it without a keyboard shortcut. What I usually do is just select one object, hold option, hit F1, and it selects all the same color. I go over here, select the Pantone equivalent from the magenta and color it. Notice it looks completely different on screen, but it looked great in the book. So trust the book. Don't trust your screen. It's almost never going to look as good as it does on screen in RAW if you apply it as we're doing right now. It's going to look off. So you have to trust the book. That's why the books exist. When you send this file, they don't care what they see on screen. They look up the book and they match from the book. That's why it's a matching system. We're going to do this with the yellow. Select the yellow, option F1 is my keyboard shortcut to select the same. And on this, we're going to go ahead and select the Pantone color for this. Now, one thing I'll point out is notice the color and the pattern didn't change. Even though we're using global colors, it doesn't select. So it's like it can't see that color within a pattern swatch. But that's okay. We can just double click in the pattern swatch, Command A, select this, color it the pink, then just hit escape to go back to the artboard, and now it's done. That's kind of an oversight on Adobe's part. I think that really should change where they do that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to select everything that makes up the flesh tone in this artwork, which is just the character's skin here. And we're just going to go ahead and apply the new Pantone. But one thing I want to point out is look at the color panel up here. This isn't the whole value that we have shown here. It's only 30% of this color break in the CMYK. So if I just click the new Pantone color, it'll apply the color, but it will retain the 30%. And we don't want that. We want it to be a whole value. And so once you click once, you'll want to click the same swatch again, and then it applies the full value of 100%. It's easy to miss that. I've missed that over the years, not paying attention, and it's come back to haunt me. I go, why does that look so faint? I'm like, oh, it applied the tint I had on the original CMYK color. So this is now ready. We can go ahead and clean up our file. This is where I would remove all this art. You could go to swatches and you can go select all unused and it'll select, but sometimes it won't select all the unused. Why that is, I have no clue. So what I usually do, we can go ahead and get rid of these swatches. I know we don't need these three that we just changed, so I can just drag it down the trash. Sometimes you have to do it manually, and that's a little unfortunate. I don't know why that doesn't always work. But notice over here in the separations preview, we still have CMYK showing up, and that's okay because we're in the CMYK file here. There is no spot color mode like there is with CMYK or RGB. You'll be using CMYK mode, so that will still show up here. But if we go ahead and turn magenta off or cyan off or yellow off, it doesn't change our design because all of these, or black for that matter, it's because all of our colors are these spot colors now. If I turned off the magenta here, then yeah, you wouldn't see magenta. Or if I turn off the flesh tone, you wouldn't see that. So this allows the printer then to isolate, in this case, the artwork that they had burned the screen for the like light pink. And then if they were doing the magenta, then this would be the artwork that they used to burn the screen for the magenta, and the same for the flesh tone here. And that's how they would create the three screens that they could do screen printing on. So this would be the file that I give them so they could actually do that. So that's how I set up files if I'm doing a screen print job and I select the Pantone colors. You might want to ask your printer though, do they have the ability to match Pantone colors? Because some of them are kind of cheap. They don't want to buy the official Pantone inks. And so they have their own kind of color library, in which case you can usually ask them for a guide or borrow their swatch book and then match from that as if it was the Pantone and get the closest matching color and just name it whatever their standard is for that ink name and do the same thing. But this is how you'd want to set it up. So there's a lot of things that change over time as technology changes. So what I want to do is I also want to show you how you can set up a file to do digital printing. And I even want to show you how to upload it. We're going to do that as well. So let's switch to this design. This was a badge design I did last year, obviously themed off of Star Wars. I call these logo mocks or logo parodies of sorts of my favorite kind of sci-fi characters and storylines. I've done it for The Mandalorian and Boba Fett and that kind of stuff. But on this one, I wanted to create a badge based off of, the Tusken Raiders. So I figured out Tatooine Outfitters, Tusken Desert Tours. So this is a fun one. But I want to create a t-shirt from this, but I don't want it to be full color. I want this to just be one color on like a black or dark colored garment. So we're going to adjust this and get it ready for that. Now, my file size here for the artboard, if I click on the artboard tool, it's 1500 by 1500 pixels. And this is usually the size I build it for. Now, when we rasterize it, because it'll be actually a ping image we upload for the digital printing of a t-shirt. But first, I want to adjust this and simplify it because right now it's grouped. So let's go ahead and ungroup it so we can select shapes like all these. I'm just going to go to the Pathfinder. Where's my Pathfinder palette? There it is. And I'm going to go ahead and unite those. Notice when you do that, when you unite with Pathfinder, you kind of lose the compound path. So if I go here and open up the appearance panel, you can see, let's go ahead and put that right here. You can see it's a group. So I usually use the F7 key to turn it into a compound. Then in this case, I'm going to select the outline shape around it, and I'm going to minus front to punch it through. Then I'm going to select all the type and the nice border around everything, and I'm going to go ahead and unite that. And if we go to appearance, it's going to group again. So I always make it a compound, Now we're going to select the background shape, which is just the gold color, and we're going to go ahead and punch through it. Now, I keep saying punch because that's what I called it for 15 years before I moved. I've actually been using Illustrator for over 20 years now, but I still call it punch, which the first 15 years I used freehand. That's what they call it. Technically, minus front. You know, an engineer named it when it's called minus front. Makes no sense. So I'm going to go ahead and minus front this out of the back like that. And again, it's always going to revert back to a group nature. So I like to make sure that these remain compounds. And then in this case, we're going to colorize it. Actually, not black. We're going to colorize it because this is going to print on like a black shirt. So everything black here, we're going to colorize white. So you're not going to see it now when I deselect it, but it's actually there. As I hover over it and select it, you can see it. But I want to clean up my file and get rid of all these colors. So if I go to select all unused colors, this is how it should behave like it wasn't in the last one. And you're going to notice this because Illustrator does this for a lot of different functionalities, where in some files it works fine like this. So once these are selected, I can just click the delete and yes, and get rid of them, and cleans up the file. Great, that's awesome. Sometimes it doesn't want to do that. Why? I have no idea. It's just kind of buggy like that. So now that we have this done, I'm just going to save the file. And if you didn't know this little asterisk up here after .ai means the file in its current state isn't saved. So we're just going to do a quick save, Command S. Now it's saved. We're going to switch to the desktop because what I need to do next is rasterize this. So let's go ahead and close this. Go to our desktop. You can see the file here. You can't see anything because it's white. And so all we're going to do is we're going to drag and drop this right onto Photoshop like this. It's going to bring up this window, and I don't want it this big. The resolution I usually do this at is 2000, and then I set the file size to 4000 by 4000 like this. RGB is what we want, and make sure to have your crop to trim box. So what that does is it takes the artboard and that'll become the edge or the trim of the image itself. Once all these are selected, 8-bit obviously, and we'll click OK. So this is what you're going to end up with, is it rasterizes our vector art, but this is a 200 ppi image at 4000 pixels. Technically, it's larger than that, but this has worked great for me. You might want to try it larger or try it smaller. It's up to you. They have a recommended size, as you're going to see. Now that I have this, I'm just going to go ahead and do a save as, and I want it on my computer, and I want to do a save as, and let's pick ping. I don't need the word copy in there. Get rid of that. And we're just going to save this to our desktop. Yes, I know it's a large file. And click OK. So let's go ahead and close this. Go back to the desktop. So you see our original AI file here. Here's the image we saved out as a ping. You can barely see it there. And this is going to work great. So I want to show you the service I use, which is Cotton Bureau. So you can set up a free account here. It doesn't cost anything. And you can put up merchandise of your own. Now, when you submit it, it goes through an approval process, and that's to make sure you have everything set up right. It's kind of cool. I met these guys that run this site about 5-6 years ago. I was speaking in Memphis at a conference. Had lunch with them. They're really great. Have been doing t-shirts ever since. So I'm going to go to, once you have an account set up, you can just go to submit a design, and we're going to bring that up. And you can see here, drag ping file here. And so that's all I'm going to do is drag my ping file in here like that. And after trimming the image, the artwork does not meet the 4000 pixel resolution requirement. Oh, oops, I goofed up. Okay, well that's good because you'd run into the same thing. So let's make sure we do that right. So what we're going to do, we're just going to go ahead and re-rasterize this. So let's go into Photoshop again. I thought I had this set up. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Like that. Okay, that's 4,000. Well, let's play it safe. Let's go 4,500. Like that. There we go. And we'll go okay. And we're just going to do it again. Okay, it should be big enough. So that's a little surprising. I'm not sure why it did that. Now we're going to go save as again, computer, and we'll go save as, select ping, and get rid of copy. That's fine. We'll go save. Yes, it's large. There we go. Let's go try this one. Make sure this one works now. So we have this here. Let's go back. Let's go back to Cotton Bureau, and we're going to upload this here. Boom. There we go. So pay attention when you're creating these. Otherwise, you'll make a mistake like that. It uploads it. That's normal behavior. Once again, normally I'm not talking while I'm doing this, so I kind of screwed up. It also allows you to drag and drop the source file on here. So if there's something wrong, they'll just go to your source file and they'll take care of it, which is kind of nice. So I usually do that as well, just in case. And so I've uploaded that. We'll go next. It'll say what color, how large you want it printed on it. And this kind of shows you a preview. I might go to the largest one. Let's see what that looks like. I think that looks pretty good. I definitely want this on black. So we'll select a black shirt down below here. That looks cool. I'm going to do a few other colors. I think this color will look good on. That looks good. Maybe it would look better smaller. Yeah, I think it would look better smaller. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the smaller. We'll add another color. Once again, you can add whatever colors you want. So maybe you want a maroon color. Nah, I just don't like the maroon. Let's maybe red. Red might look good. Red's cool. We'll keep red. And ooh, maybe this mustard color might look good, or gold. That looks pretty good too. Let's try one more. Let's try this color. It's like an olive. Oh yeah, that looks good. So you just pick whatever colors you want. Then you go next. Title. So we're just going to put in, oops, make sure you spell it right. Boy, you get all kinds of hate mail from Star Wars fans if you don't. Tatooine Outfitters. I'm just using the type I have in my design. Authentic Sand People Survival Training. Like that. And then it has a base price. Like, I rarely put this up, but I mean, Star Wars is pretty popular, so I'll go, I want $6 for every shirt showing. It does raise the price, but somebody can order a one-off. That's why it's great to do this. Now you can go finish and submit, and it'll show the progress. It's creating all these digital assets that mock up your design on a t-shirt, which is really cool. Because as soon as this process, and this just depends how fast your machine is, it doesn't take a long time. So I'm just trying to fill the gap here by talking as it's doing it, because I want to, I download these and I archive it with each design I submit, because these are great for sharing a link to it. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to download these images, and just because I want to show you what you get with it. So let's go here. Where's my downloads? There they are. We'll go here. I'll open these up in the Finder. I'll pull these out like that. And if I open this file now, you can see it gives you all these assets where it takes your design and it mocks it up on t-shirts. And these are pretty high resolution. So it's great for social media, for sharing what you did on all these different garments. So it's a great resource to use to get your t-shirts up really quick. Now, I've been doing a lot of shirts. So if I go back to my account and I go to all the products that I've created, oops, that's just general. Let's go my account here. These are all the shirts I've done like that. And I can get mine up almost instantaneously because I've done so many now. It's like an honor system. Once you've done so many, they might open up your account and let you publish immediately, which I get to do, which is awesome because I can offer a shirt in a matter of minutes if I wanted to. But that's how it works. So design technology is always changing and blurring the lines between traditional methods and new digital methods. When digitally printed t-shirts first came out, I wasn't too impressed with the quality that they produce, but all of those initial shortcomings are no longer a problem. But as long as you know how to do both, you can pick the methodology you prefer for designing and setting up your own imprinted graphics. If you like this movie, please consider sharing a link to my YouTube channel on social media. I'd really, really appreciate that. And if you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe to my channel so you're notified when the next movie is posted. Thank you for watching People Love Process. I hope this content helps you improve your own creative process.